Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we'll be going over 10 games that won't make it to PS5. Well, for now, at least.
Help! There's trouble!
For months, Sony was saying how most PS4 games will be compatible with PS5. However, the big question was which games won't make it. Well, that answer has finally been given, and these are the games that won't be found on the PS5. Here's hoping they'll find their way into the new generation. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Hitman Go Definitive Edition. Huh? The standard Hitman games are great for their flexible gameplay and occasionally goofy scenarios. Unfortunately, Hitman Go does not follow this formula, but that doesn't mean that you should steer clear of it. Hitman Go boasts the same level of challenge as the main games, and there's even optional objectives to make things tougher. It's a puzzle game that will test your wits as you try to avoid guards, and the simple tabletop game visuals had a certain charm. The game may only cost less than $10, but apparently it's not enough to get onto Sony's new console. DWVR. It's kind of odd to see that only a couple of PSVR titles won't be migrating with the rest of the catalog, and some developers are just as confused as we are. DWVR is a shooter where players can utilize a wide arsenal of weapons to take down hordes of enemies, whether it be with guns, blades, or magical spells. It's visually unique and looks like a blast to play, which makes it all the more upsetting that we won't get this on PS5. Even developer Mad Triangles is befuddled as to why the game isn't compatible despite using the Unreal Engine, an engine used by hundreds of other studios. Luckily, they are working on a way to get it onto the PS5. It just may take a little time. We Sing. There's no doubt we'll see a fair share of music games come to PS5, but one game we may not see is the 2016 title We Sing. Originally developed for the Wii in 2009, We Sing was re-released onto the Xbox One and PS4 7 years later. Unsurprisingly, the glorified karaoke game won't be found on PS5, and it has little chance of showing up. Like many other music games, it's tied up in copyrighted music, which could make the legal side of development a headache. Publisher THQ Nordic would probably get more out of making a new game with new songs and features rather than porting this decade-old game a second time. Afro Samurai 2 Revenge of Kuma Volume 1. Did you even know they made a second Afro Samurai game? Neither did we, and from the looks of it, nobody really acknowledged its existence after launch. Revenge of Kuma launched in September 2015 to scathing reviews from mainstream outlets, being criticized for its abhorrent visuals, broken gameplay, and technical issues that were about as stable as a Jenga tower. Sales and reception was so poor that the game was pulled from PSN and Steam just 2 months after launch, and plans for volumes 2 and 3 were cancelled entirely. Given that publisher Versus Evil says the game, quote, didn't sell like hotcakes, we can see why this won't be on PS5.
You did this to all of us! You let him get away!
Joe's Diner. With new tech available to developers, we have a feeling horror games are about to become 10 times scarier than they were before. Joe's Diner isn't one of those games, and it may not ever be. The game originally released on Steam in 2015 and saw mixed reviews, but it only got worse when it was ported to PS4 in 2017.
under 18 and do not wish to be billed, please hang up now.
The few outlets who bothered reviewing it found the game had a meandering plot and was absent of any terror whatsoever. Needless to say, Joe's Diner may be one of those titles very, very few people will miss when they get their PS5. Just deal with it. Just Deal With It was one of those PlayLink games. You know, the games where Sony wanted you to download apps for them and setting up was more complicated than other party games. Whereas games like Hidden Agenda, Knowledge is Power, and That's You had a little more appeal, Just Deal With It was simply a collection of card games being sold for more than a real deck of cards would cost.
Cold? Time's up on the mission.
For $20, you and your friends can use your phones to play Rummy, Poker, Hearts, Blackjack, and Crazy Eights. Perhaps Sony realized how ridiculous this actually was and decided not to migrate into their new console. Doesn't help that the game didn't do too well with the critics.
Risky move. Very lucky.
TT Isle of Man, Ride on the Edge 2. Given how racing games often serve as the tech demos for new consoles at launch, you'd think a game like Ride on the Edge 2 would make the move to the PS5 no problem. After all, this is a game that was released in early 2020, which means it's most likely running on relatively newer, more updated hardware. And yet, here it is on the small list of games that aren't coming to PS5. Ride on the Edge 2 didn't do too terribly in reviews either, as most critics found it to be a decent motorcycle racer. Maybe Sony found the title to be too long and convoluted to be on PS5? Who can say? Shadwen.
Ouch!
A good stealth game is hard to come by, and while stealth is incorporated into many AAA games as a mechanic, we haven't had a great game entirely centered around stealth since the days of the Thief and Dishonored games. Shadwen looked to be a solid new title, but when it tried going for the kill, it tripped and fell flat on its face instead.
Help! There's trouble!
Incompetent AI, a disappointing story, and broken mechanics made Shadwen a forgettable experience. Had it lived up to its promise and executed its concept better, maybe we'd be begging for it to emerge from the shadows and join us in the new generation of consoles. Robinson: The Journey. Robinson: The Journey is the other VR title that we may not see on the PS5. While it isn't one of the best titles we've seen on PSVR and Oculus Rift, it still holds some value with its unique setting and beautiful environments. However, that's about as good as it gets, as reviewers found the gameplay to be dull and lacking any real depth. It was a space adventure that kind of detracts from the excitement adventure games should bring. A shame it won't be coming to PS5, but there's dozens of other titles that might be more worthy of your time. Shadow Complex Remastered. Of all the games that were on the chopping block, this was the hardest to bear. Shadow Complex was an exceptional action platformer that featured impressive visuals and thrilling action for fans of Metroidvania games. While it was originally available only on Xbox 360, Shadow Complex would get a loving remaster for Xbox One and PS4 in 2016. Alas, this fantastic title will not be coming to the PS5. All we can do now is cross our fingers and pray it'll make a return in the near future.
Being a soldier isn't about killing. You know that. It's about fighting for something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, well, I can't deal with that, okay?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.